Let's look at different word classes, focusing on open classes and closed classes. And let's start with some examples. So a typical word class is a noun. House is a very typical example of this word class. It's a thing or sometimes a concept. Speak is a very typical verb. Verbs express things like actions or events. We've got an adjective here, nice. Adjectives are usually descriptions of something and they describe a noun. So a nice house, nice describes house in a little bit more detail. And then we've got something like angrily. Angrily is an adverb and it's a description of a verb. And here we can say something like he spoke angrily, where angrily tells us something about the way in which he was speaking. Now, these are open classes. These are the big classes that we call open classes. They contain nouns, verbs, adjectives and adverbs, and sometimes other classes depending on who you talk to. But the features of open classes are the following. The elements, the words in these classes have lexical meaning. They express something, they mean something. And new words can be added very, very easily. So we can coin new words, we can borrow new words from other languages, we can form new words, for example, by putting two words together to form a new noun, a new verb, etc. So these are the features of open classes. Let's come to the other type, closed classes. These are the so-called smaller classes, smaller in the sense of they contain fewer words, but usually these words are very, very frequent. So when we look at texts, they appear a lot, but there are only a certain number of these words that appear. And these contain word classes such as articles, pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions, discourse markers. And again, depending on who you talk to, they might call these word classes different things, and they might include different types of word classes in closed classes. Right, the features of these are they fulfill generally a grammatical function, and it's much more difficult for new words to enter these classes. So you can't just make up a new preposition. I mean, new prepositions appear, but it's much more difficult for new prepositions to appear than for new nouns to be formed. Okay, let's have a look at some examples of the closed classes. So in the house, in is a preposition. It positions something within something else. You and I is a conjunction, a so-called coordinating conjunction, which puts you and I together at the same level. And then we've also got other types of conjunctions, so-called subordinating conjunctions. If is a very nice example of this. If you go, I'll do something, okay? Then we have articles, definite articles like the in the house. And we have pronouns, again coming back to you and I. You and I are personal pronouns. We've got lots of other pronouns, for example interrogative pronouns, pronouns used for questioning something. Who is a very good example of this. And then there are all these other elements, sometimes called particles or discourse markers, and they're things like, well, I thought, I was like, and so on. So those are all these little elements that appear as we speak, but that kind of structure our discourse and have a function in that way. Right, so summary, open classes are those to which we can add new elements very easily, and they usually consist of nouns, verbs, adjectives and adverbs. These elements that appear in open word classes have lexical meaning. And closed word classes are much more grammatical, they are much more difficult to add new elements to, and the word classes that we consider under this heading are usually prepositions, conjunctions, articles, pronouns and discourse markers. And that's it. Thanks for listening.